Hello students, today is Monday, March the 1st, and our first task today is going to be to complete a retrieval practice link, and it is on this slide. You're going to click right here where it says retrieval practice link, and then you're going to click on the link to open the form. So math retrieval 3-1-21. Make sure to enter your first and your last name, and who is your teacher. Just whoever your homeroom teacher is, I want you to click beside their name. Our first question, at what age is a person an adult? So this is your opinion. At what age do you think a person is an adult? The next one, what fraction below is equivalent to 1/3? This is something that we practice on quite a bit in the last few weeks with fractions. You can use your notebook to help you. If you need to make any drawings, you can go ahead and do that also. Choose what you think is the correct answer. And next, what is 7 times 60? And you can use your notebook also for this one. Choose whatever model that you want to help you to solve this problem. It could be the area model, possibly. What is something that makes your family special? This is your opinion, so just type a short answer in there. It doesn't have to be a paragraph or anything. Maybe one short sentence, or it could be a few words. And after you do that, go and hit submit. All right, so we've already completed the retrieval practice. And just keep in mind, students, you're able to pause this video as often as you like to complete anything that we need, especially if you are not in on our live class session. Sure, if you're at home, you're able to pause it as often as you want to. Today, we're going to be talking about Unit 6, Lesson 2, connecting fractions and decimals to place value. And these are some of the things that you're going to be expected to do based off of the standards. Model with mathematics, attend to precision, and look for and make use of structure. I've got the multiplication table here as a resource for you. And on the next two slides, these are just areas for you to take pictures of your work if you're working in your notebook, or if you're working in the binder and you're completing some of the work. Take pictures of your work and insert it here. Our learning target, I can represent tenths and hundredths using a model and explain relationships between decimals and fractions. Now, our essential questions for the entire Unit 6 are going to remain the same. We're just going to continue to build upon them. How does the place of a digit within the base 10 system affect the value of a digit across the decimal point? And what is the relationship between fractions and decimals? So here we've got a link to base 10 blocks. All right, so here is a link to the base 10 blocks. I want you to go ahead. We're just going to practice a little bit. I wanted you to watch me first, and then you can go ahead and practice on your own. But this is something that we've done before this school year. So when you click on that, it brings you here, and you've got your base 10 blocks on the right side over there. All right, so when you come up, you've got the place value column. So you got thousands, hundreds, tens, and ones. But first, what I'm going to do is just take away that grid by just clicking right here. So I'm going to take away that chart by clicking right here because I'm just going to use the open area first. So I'm going to go ahead and get a flat. So I'm going to bring a flat over, and how many rods does it take to cover this flat? So how many rods does it take to cover this flat? And by the way, the flat, of course, is the 100 block, and the rods is the 10 block. So how many of these does it take to cover it? One. So when you count them over, you'll see that it's going to take 10 of these to cover it. So it's going to take 10 of these, and I want you can watch me first, and then you can go ahead and do yours. That's 9, and there's 10. So it takes 10 of these rods to cover the entire flat. So how many of the unit, which are ones, how many of these does it take to cover the flat? So I'm just going to do just a couple of them to show you. So since the flat is 100, remember it's going to take 100 of these to cover the entire flat. So we're not going to do all of those, but just to show you, if I did 100 of these units, it would take 100 to cover the entire flat. Just you can pause my video and go ahead and practice just a little bit yourself. Use the rods to cover the entire flat. It takes 10 of those, and then you can use the units. You know, not 100 of them, but just do a few of them. All right, so for our next part, this is going to be a breakout session. So if you're in our live class, it's going to be a breakout session. But if you're watching this at home on your own and you're not in our live session, this is something that you're going to do individually. So basically, you're going to there's a Jamboard that comes with today's lesson, and I'll show you in a second which one it is. But once we get to that Jamboard, you're going to be able to answer some questions on there using a blue sticky note. The blue sticky note is going to be, what is the difference between a whole, a fraction, and a decimal? And a yellow sticky note to answer the question, how would we represent equivalent decimal and fractional values using base 10 models? All right, so again, you're going to use a blue sticky note to answer this question. What is the difference between a whole, a fraction, and a decimal? And you're going to use a yellow sticky note to answer this question. And the sticky notes, again, are right here. And when you click on it, you get to choose your color. So the first one is yellow, and then it's the blue. You just type your answer in there. So for the yellow one right here, you just type your answer in. And then when you finish, you just click save, and it'll appear on the screen. Then you got to do it again to get the blue one. So I want you to pause our video and go ahead and answer those questions yourself. All right, students, so for our next slide here, now in our live session, we're going to work as groups in a breakout session to explore fractions and decimals. But if you're at home, you're watching this individually, you're going to be able to still do this activity on your own to get some practice. You're going to work to answer the questions and see the relationship between decimals and fractions. You're going to be able to move the place value blocks to help you answer the questions. Now, this activity is on page 5 and 6 in your binder, or it's going to be on our next 2 slides. So there's 2 different ways that you're going to be able to complete this. Page 5 and 6 in the binder, or it's going to be on our next 2 slides to complete. And it is explore fractions and decimals. The first question is going to be, how many rods are needed to cover the whole flat? You're going to be able to basically fill in to demonstrate that. So let's go on and go to our next slide. So here's that same question. How many rods are needed to cover the whole flat? And we've already kind of talked about this. So you're just going to drop and drag on our screen here to show. So I've dropped 1 rod over. So you're going to be able to have to count how many does it take to cover it up. Okay. And we've already discussed that. So I want you to work on that. And then you're going to just answer the question down here. So you can take it, cover the flat with rods, and then you're going to count them. And you're just going to answer the question down here. Just type in your answer. And over here, the second question, if a flat represents 1 whole, so this is a whole, this is a flat right here. If a flat represents 1 whole, then what fraction is shown above? So you got 1 section that's actually shaded in. What fraction do you think this is? And I want you to count it, study it, and then whatever you think your answer is, write the fraction down here. Remember, fraction has a numerator and a denominator. And right here, what do you think the decimal form is for this shown above? What is the decimal form? Remember, that's going to have a decimal in it. All right, and on our next slide, this is number 3. If 1 rod represents 1/10, so if one of these rods represents 1/10 of the whole flat, then what decimal is shown above? So what decimal does this represent? Type your answer in there. And how do you name the value using a fraction? Right here, the next one, 4, make the grid below show a value of 400s. So you're going to make it show a value of 400s. And here it says, what fraction of the whole flat is one small bit? So what fraction of the whole flat is one small bit? And below that, how would you write that using a decimal name? So that's our first and our second one. So I want you to pause the video and go in and complete these. And again, you can work them on the slides, or it's going to be page 5 and 6 in the binder. Remember, if you work it in your binder, you're going to have to take a picture of your work and insert it into the slides to show your teacher that you've done the work. Otherwise, you won't get credit for it. All right, so let's go ahead, and you've had an opportunity to work on yours. Let's take a look at the first one. So we'll look at the first slide. This is slide number 12. How many rods are needed to cover the whole flat? Remember, we've already talked about that. When you look at them, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've got 10 rods covering that whole flat, and you should have put in 10 right here. And over here, number 2, if the flat represents one whole, then what fraction is shown above? This is 1, so we talk about one column, 2. One column is shaded in, but there are 10 total columns, so 1 out of 10. That means 1/10 is the fraction. And what is the decimal form shown above? It's going to be 0.1. That's the same as also 1/10. So go ahead and make corrections to yours if you need to. And you can pause the video again as often as you need to. All right, so let's go ahead and go on to the next slide. So on the next one, I've already gone in and completed it. If one rod represents 1/10 of the whole flat, then what decimal is shown above? So you got 4 rows. I'm sorry, 4 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4 columns out of the entire 10. So that means 4/10 is the value of the shaded portion. That's going to be 0.4, 4/10. How do you name the value above using a fraction? Just the way that it sounds. It's 4/10, 4/10. And here it says, make the grid below show a value of 400s. So I had to drag 4 of these little red cubes over, the red units over, and it's 4 out of 100 total. And down here it says, what fraction of the whole flat is one small bit? So if I just had that 1 that was up there originally, it would be 100s. How would you write that using a decimal name? 100. Okay. And again, go ahead and pause the video as often as you'd like to go ahead and make corrections to yours. So when we move on our slides, guys, there's some additional practice on our next 8 slides. And I'm going to want you to work on those on the next 8 slides. And you're just basically identifying what the decimal is, and you're going to put it in the fraction form. So you got a decimal form right here, but you need to be able to read it and put it in the fraction form. Now, when I go back to this one, there are some manipulatives there that can help you. The base 10 blocks that we've already worked on. So you can use this to help you to identify what the answers are going to be. Okay, and we'll just take a look. For instance, this one right here is in the tenths place value. So this 5 is located in the tenths first place values. So what that means is that this is going to be 5/10. So the answer here is going to be 5/10. Okay, and remember, it's based off of the place value of the digit that you're looking at. And you got to be able to recognize whether it's tenths place value, whether it's hundredths place value, and kind of decide and complete it. So I've already done the first one for you. I want you to work on the rest of those. Remember, pause the video as often as you need to. All right, so you've had an opportunity to work on those. So next up, guys, here is just a video for you. This is a help video for you. So when you click on that, and this one is converting fractions into decimals to the tenths place. So convert fractions into decimals to the tenths place. So if you need help with some of the previous ones, you can actually watch this video and it will help you. It's like a 3-minute video that shows you again how to convert fractions into decimals to the tenths place. And after you've done that, for your independent practice, I want you to click on this Google form to complete the fractions and decimals activity sheet for independent practice. So you're going to click on this Google form, and I've got just a few questions on here. So it says fractions and decimals activity sheet, and remember to put your name in there. How would the number represented be written as a decimal? So you're going to write it right here, put your answer in. The next one, how would the number represented be written as a fraction? Put your answer right there. How would the number represented be written as a decimal? Put your answer right there. How would the number represented be written as a fraction? Put your answer in there. And I've got couple more. How would the number represented be written as a decimal? And so actually just kind of all of them. So basically, you're just looking at the grid and you're determining how it would be represented either as a fraction or as a decimal. And once you do that, here's one other part that says create your own using the manipulatives here. So you click on the manipulative pieces, very similar to the ones that we've already been doing. You can get a chance to build your own. So here, you're going to create your own model to represent a decimal and fraction. So write the decimal and fraction you choose below, then represent the model in written form. So you're going to choose your own decimal and fraction. Okay, so you're going to choose your own. They're going to be the same. They're going to represent the same number. And as a decimal, you write it right here. So if you're doing 5/10 or 7/10, 5/100 or 7/100, you would write it right here. And then you would write it as a fraction right here. What would that same fraction be for the decimal you wrote? And then you just write it in the written form right here. But this part is for you to help build it. This is for you to build your fraction, okay? And after you've done that, just go ahead and click submit. So this is your independent work. After you completed all these, go ahead and click submit. And lastly, this is just a reminder of the task. So complete the independent work on the Google form that we just looked at. And also, I want you to work on Dreambox and Khan Academy for 15 minutes.